Hello guys, Uncle Vasil here. This time's video is about Azerbaijan's history. I hope you enjoy. Now, let's get straight into the video. Prologue, the land that remembers. There are places in the world that feel young, as if history only brushed past them. Azerbaijan is not one of them. Here, the earth remembers everything. The mountains remember the footsteps of armies. The Caspian remembers the sails of forgotten merchants. The wind remembers languages no one speaks anymore. This is a land that has never known silence, a land that has never been allowed to sleep, a land that learned to survive by listening, to the footsteps of empires, to the whispers of caravans, to the tremors of ambition. Azerbaijan is not merely a country. It is a crossroads carved by time. The first shadows, Caucasian Albania. Before the world had names for nations, before borders were drawn in ink or blood, there was Caucasian Albania. Not the Albania of the Balkans, but an ancient kingdom of the Caucasus, older than memory, older than the scripts carved into stone. Its people built fortresses that clung to mountainsides like stubborn prayers. They carved their own alphabet, a script that flickered like firelight. They embraced Christianity long before it swept across Europe, building churches that still stand like quiet witnesses to forgotten centuries. Persian empires rose and fell around them, leaving behind fire temples and Zoroastrian echoes. Merchants passed through with silk, spices, and stories. And slowly, the Albanians were woven into the tapestry of the land, not erased, but absorbed, like a river joining the sea. Their legacy is not a chapter. It is a foundation. The coming of faith and horsemen. In the 7th century, the world shifted. Arab armies crossed the mountains, carrying a new faith, Islam, and a new intellectual horizon. The land listened, adapted, absorbed. Then came the Turkic migrations, waves of horsemen from the steppe, carrying with them a language, a rhythm, a worldview shaped by open skies and endless horizons. They did not erase what came before. They layered themselves upon it. Persian elegance, Caucasian resilience, Islamic philosophy, Turkic identity. Azerbaijan became a fusion, not a melting pot, but a braid. The age of empires, Seljuks, Mongols, and the storm of history. The Middle Ages were not gentle. The Seljuks swept in first, bringing order, architecture, and a flowering of culture. Cities like Ganja and Nakhchivan grew into centers of poetry, trade, and scholarship. Then the Mongols arrived, a storm on horseback. They burned, conquered, shattered, and then, paradoxically, connected. Under their vast empire, trade routes reopened, ideas flowed, and Azerbaijan found itself linked to a world stretching from China to the Mediterranean. Empires treated this land like a prize, but the land endured them all at the coming of faith and horsemen. In the 7th century, the world shifted. Arab armies crossed the mountains, carrying a new faith, Islam, and a new intellectual horizon. The land listened, adapted, absorbed. Then came the Turkic migrations, waves of horsemen from the steppe, carrying with them a language, a rhythm, a worldview shaped by open skies and endless horizons. They did not erase what came before. They layered themselves upon it. Persian elegance, Caucasian resilience, Islamic philosophy, Turkic identity. Azerbaijan became a fusion, not a melting pot, but a braid. The Safavid dawn, a new identity rises. In the early 1500s, a new force rose from the soil of Azerbaijan itself. The Safavids, born from Sufi orders, shaped by mysticism, ambition, and fire. Their founder, Ismail I, was a poet, a warrior, a visionary. He forged an empire that stretched across Iran and the Caucasus, and he made Tabriz his first capital. Under the Safavids, Shia Islam became the defining spiritual identity of the region. This was not merely a political shift, it was a cultural transformation, a new axis around which society revolved. Azerbaijan was no longer just a crossroads. It was a birthplace. The fractured century, the Khanates. When the Safavid Empire collapsed, the land did not fall silent. It fractured into Khanates, each with its own ambitions, alliances, and fears. Baku, Ganja, Karabakh, Shirvan, Shaki, names that still echo with the weight of old rivalries. These Khanates were small, but they were fierce. They negotiated with Persia, resisted the Ottomans, bargained with Russia, and fought among themselves when diplomacy failed. This was a century of shifting loyalties, of maps redrawn by the season, of rulers who understood that survival required both courage and cunning. The Khanates were not chaos. They were adaptation. The Russian century, oil, industry, and awakening. In the 19th century, the Russian Empire arrived, not as a whisper, but as a declaration. Treaty by treaty, battle by battle, the Khanates were absorbed. And under Russian rule, Azerbaijan transformed. Baku, once a quiet coastal town, erupted into one of the world's first great oil cities. Derricks rose like iron forests. Fortunes were made and lost in a single season. Workers, engineers, and dreamers poured in from across the empire. The city became a mosaic of languages, religions, and ambitions. It was chaotic, electric, alive. And in this furnace of industry, a new national consciousness began to form, modern, literate, politically aware. Azerbaijan was awakening. The First Republic, a brief, brilliant flame. In 1918, amid the collapse of the Russian Empire, Azerbaijan declared independence. The Azerbaijan Democratic Republic, the first secular democratic republic in the Muslim world. It lasted only 23 months. But in that short time, it achieved what many nations take decades to build. A parliament, a national university, universal suffrage, including for women, a cultural renaissance. It was a flame that burned briefly, but brightly enough to be remembered forever. In 1920, the Red Army arrived. The republic fell, but the idea of Azerbaijan did not. The Soviet era, progress, and pressure. Under Soviet rule, Azerbaijan changed again. Factories rose. Railways expanded. Oil flowed once more, fueling the Soviet war effort in World War II. Literacy soared. Cities modernized. But the era also brought repression, censorship, and the slow tightening of political control. Cultural expression survived, but often in coded forms. Poetry that said one thing and meant another. Music that carried memories beneath its melodies. And beneath the surface, tensions simmered, especially in Nagorno-Karabakh, where history and identity collided in ways the Soviet system could not resolve. The land endured. It always had. Independence, the return of the name. In 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed, and Azerbaijan, after decades of silence, spoke its name again. Independence came with turmoil, conflict, economic hardship, political struggle, but slowly, the nation rebuilt. The energy sector surged. The Baku, Tbilisi, Ceyhan pipeline reshaped regional geopolitics. Cities grew. Culture revived. A new generation emerged, connected to the world, yet rooted in ancient soil. Azerbaijan stepped into the modern era not as a crossroads, but as a participant, a nation with its own voice, its own ambitions, its own future. Epilogue, the land that endures. Azerbaijan's story is not a straight line. It is a spiral, returning, evolving, remembering. Empires came like storms. Faiths arrived like tides. Cultures layered themselves like sediment. But the land remained. The people remained. The identity remained. Azerbaijan is a crossroads, yes, but it is also a forge. A place where history does not simply pass through, but is transformed. A land that remembers. A land that endures. A land that continues to write its story, one century at a time. This is the end of the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe for more content. See you next time.